troubleshooting RHEL 7 boot. So when we know how it's booting, then we can do some troubleshooting of Linux boot. That means if we face any problem when our system boots, then how we can solve those problems. Now before doing that, first we should know that how we can manage grub and also systemd, because these are the two things which is responsible for booting the system and initializing the system. Grub is responsible for booting the system, and systemd is responsible for initializing the system. So first we'll see how we can manage grub. Now in RHEL 7 we have grub version 2. In previous versions like RHEL 6 we had grub version 1, but previous than RHEL 6 we did not have a grub. In RHEL 5 we actually has grub as optional. That means if we want, then we can use it. Otherwise, if you don't want, then we are not compulsory. It was not compulsory to use that grub in RHEL 5. When we do the installation in RHEL 5, it says that it gives the option, do you want to install grub or not? And if you select that I don't want, then it will not install the grub. But in this, then RHEL, after the RHEL 5, RHEL 6 gives the option to compulsory. It makes it like compulsorily install the RHEL, this grub. But it was grub version 1. But now we have grub version 2. So if we want to manage the grub version 2, so all the configurations of grub is under the boot directory. Under the boot directory, we can see all the configurations of grub. So first we can say managing grub, and this is version 2. Now grub means it is actually grand unified bootloader. So grub is basically grub grand unified bootloader. So for managing grub, first we should know that where is the configuration files. So all the configuration files of grub, let me show you that first. First, all the bootloading files, all the boot related files are under the first partition. Under the first partition, and that is mounted on boot. We can check by df-h and grabbing the SDA1. And we can see that this SDA1, the first partition, it is mounted on boot. And when we go to boot, we can see all the files. Like this is the directory for grub, and these are the bootloader file. And in that, this is the kernel files we have, and this is initial RAM FS file. Now in this directory we have all the files related to grub. So when I go to this directory, I can see these are the files of grub, which is related to grub and to run the grub. Now the main configuration file for the grub is this. So this is the main configuration file, and if we want to add it anything, then we can add it here in this configuration file. but that is not true. That means all the configurations related to grub will be here, but we are not able to edit this file directly. It is not recommended and it is not done. Like if you don't, you should not do this. If you check this file grub.cfg, I'm opening the file, you will see the first line says that do not edit this file. That means it should not be edited directly. So because why? It is automatically generated. It is basically automatically generated by system by this grub mk config. So it is automatically generated, so we don't have to edit this file directly. Now if we want to edit this, then we can edit those templates which is under this directory. It is also saying that it is automatically generating using the templates of this directory. So if you want to edit any configuration here, then you should go to this directory and edit those templates. Those templates are, we can see here, they are like under the directory, and this is the template file 00_header. It is this configuration, all these configurations are coming from this file, and like this there are other files also. So you can edit those configurations files if you want to, or if you like to edit the grub configurations. So the main configuration directory for the grub is under the boot grub2. This is the directory which is under the boot partition, and the main configuration file for the grub is this under the boot grub2 grub.cfg file. Now we should not edit this file directly. We should not edit this file directly, but I am saying we should, because I am not saying we must, because basically we can edit this file. We can edit this file if we like, but it is not recommended. So we should not edit this file directly, and if we want to edit anything, if we want to do some changes, we want to have some changes, then what? Then we can make changes in the available templates. Make changes in the templates which is available under grub.d directory. So it is available there, all the templates are available there, and we can edit those templates directly on that directory. And after editing those templates, remember, when we edit any template under this directory, this is under etc, and the main configuration file is under the boot directory. So when our system boots, it will not see the changes of these directory. Like it will not see any changes what we made in the templates of this directory. It will always see this configuration file. So after making the changes here, we have to update the changes. We have to update the changes into main configuration file. So we can make the changes on the templates available in this directory, and after that update those changes into main configuration file. And under the main configuration into main configuration file, that means this is the main configuration file where we should have the changes. So we can make changes into this into the templates of this directory, and we can update the changes into main configuration file. Because remember, when our system boots, it will not have an access of these directory. because the file system is not mounted, and our system does not know that which partition is mounted on which directory. So no point of having etc file, etc directory, and no point of having grub.d directory. So it is not having those directories and files. So it has only access of this grub.cfg file. So it has only access of grub.cfg file. So whatever we want to make changes, we have to only whatever we make changes into these templates, we have to update it into main configuration file. Otherwise, it will not be used. Let's see what templates we have there. I will go to the directory. So now I'm in this directory. Now what templates I have? These are the templates. These are all scripts. If you see, these are all in green color and these are all scripts. Now if you want to edit these, then you can edit these scripts. Remember, these are scripts. Now if you want to know what these files are and what these scripts are, then you can read this readme file. Let's read this readme file. Now it is saying here, it is saying all executable files in this directory are processed in shell expansion order. Shell expansion order is like these numbers. If you see these numbers are to process the file. Like first it will process the 0, then it will process 01, then it will process 02, 03, 04, 05 and so on. So according to that, they have made these configuration files. So all the 00 files are what? These are reserved for header. These are reserved for header information. That means whatever the header information we have, it is under this 0 configuration files. This 10 is having native boot entries. Boot entries, that means whatever boot entries we have, like whatever kernels we have kernel 1, kernel 2, or we have multiple kernels. So all those kernel entries will be under this native boots, like we have right now by default normal kernel and rescue kernel. So all the entries of those kernels are under this 10 directory. Then under the 20 directory we have third party apps. So for example memtest and others, like if we are having some third party applications and we want to execute them at the boot time, like for example this is for the memory test, for testing the memory. So we can add the configuration for that under this 20. Now we can see there are gaps in between, like after the 0 it is saying number 10 directly. So we can make our own files like 01, 02, 03, 04. Now we have some other numbers also. It is saying the number namespace in between is configurable by system installer. So it is configurable by the system installer and or the administrator. So automatically the system installer, which is installing the system, like if you are installing any application, any third party application or some applications, so they can create entries here, or administrator can also create manually any entry in between those numbers, whatever numbers we have in the gap. So 10, after 10 it is 20, then after 20 it is directly 30, 40 and so on. So in between we can make entry, or even some applications make entries. Now for example you can add an entry to boot another OS as 01, as 01 underscore other OS, or 011 as 11 other OS. So we can make entries our own OS, like we install some OS or we want to boot them, so we can add the entries here, depending on the position you want it to occupy in the menu. So depending on the position you can occupy, like when our system starts, it gives a menu for us. So in that menu we can see that. So these are the files and these are the templates, these are the executable templates which we can modify, and we can add changes or we can add some extra changes also. But here it is also saying then adjust the default settings via this file. Now this file is also important, because this file is having a default settings if we want to change. So some of the default settings we can change from here, because you know what, these templates are scripts. So if you don't understand scripts, then it is hard for you to edit anything here. I will show you that file. So first let's say header file. So I'm opening this header file. Now if you see here, it is starting, and it is starting from here. It's a shell script, and you can see here that it is setting the header environment, and you can see it is a script. It is creating if loop, for loop. So if we understand this shell script, then we can edit these things. So if we understand scripting, then we can easily edit these things. It is a big script. So same as all the other things are also script. Like for example, this is having a information about Linux, like whatever our boot we have. So if we check that one, 10.linux, 10_linux. So here we have a menu entry, and we can modify those menu entries also. So as you see here, again it is a script. Again it is a script for the menu entry, and it is a big script. So it is not possible everyone to edit this script directly, but it is a good idea to edit this script or create your own script. So this is what we can edit these templates. Otherwise, if we want to change some default settings only, we don't want to make a big change, or we don't want to make a new OS entry, or we don't want to make or introduce or any other software or something. We just want to make some default changes. Like for example, when our system boots, it give us the menu, and it waits for only 5 seconds, and I want more time. Then I can, this is like a default setting, so I can make it here. I want to pass some options of kernel, like I want to add some extra options, or I want to remove some default options for the kernel option commands. So I can do it from here, from this file. So this file is easily editable and user friendly. That means we can easily edit, and user friendly we can edit this file using this for changing some default settings. So for making some default changes in the setting, we can edit this etc default under default. This is grub file, and again, and after changing, we have to update. We have to update the changes into main config file, because again it's a file which is under etc, and it will not be updated if we it will not be read when our system boots, because our system when boots is only have an access of the main configuration file. So let's see how we can do this, how we can change and update. So I'm not going to change any script there. So I'm going to change some default settings. I will change this default configuration files. So I will not do change. Let's say, for example, I want to change waiting time of menu, or it was boot menu. So I want to change the waiting time for boot menu, which is default 5 seconds. So I want to change it to 15 seconds. So for that, because it's a default setting, what I will do, I will open the default file, which is under etc. Now whether you are changing a default settings or you are changing some main settings from the templates, you have to update the file, update the changes. So I am opening default grub file, and where I can make some changes, or even not only the time, or I want to add or remove any commands from kernel, or we can say pass or remove any command from kernel. So we can do all these from this default file. Let's see how it looks and how we can add this. So I'm going to open the file etc default grub. Now when you see this file, it looks like this, and where we can easily edit changes. You can see easily, it is not a script, it is saying grub timeout, which is 5 seconds. I want to change it, so I will say I want to change it to 15. Then you have option to see the distributor. You can change default saved. You want to disable the sub menu, it is already disabled. You want to enable, you can enable terminal output on console. You want to change the kernel options. Here is the options which runs with the kernel. It says command line Linux, and it is what these options for the kernel, which is like, for example, here RHGB quiet. This option do what? This will start the kernel in quiet mode, start the Linux in quiet mode. So when our system starts, it does not show you any information. It is just don't show you any information. It is just quietly, everything does it in background. So if I remove this, I will remove this option. So what happened? We will see some changes. When our system will boot, so we will see what is starting, what is not starting, and everything. So I did changes. So whether you do changes in this file, in this default setting file, or you do changes in these templates, whatever you do, you have to update the changes into main configuration file. Now for updating the changes, we have a command grub2 mkconfig. Now this command will do what? It will update the changes into main configuration file. Now first, what you have to do is to just run the command. Let's see what happens when I run the command. It is done. Now when I run the command, it do what? It is actually not updating the changes, it is just giving me the output. It is only giving me output on the terminal directly. Still the main file is not updated. It is only giving me update in this terminal. It is doing what? It is just generating the grub configuration file and it is showing me the configuration here, which is the updated configuration. Still our main configuration file is not updated, where you can see here the timeout is set to 15, but still if I check the main configuration file, which is under boot grub2 grubs.cfg, if you see this file, it will still say 5 seconds. It is still saying 5 seconds. Why? Because it is not updated. It is still not updated. So what it did here, when I run this command, it updated the changes. It updated the changes and send the output on terminal directly. It is not sending the output to the main configuration file. It will never send this output to main configuration file. So why did I run this here? Why I did run this command here directly? Because I want to see whether I make any wrong configuration or not. Like if you make any wrong configurations, if you make any mistake, so first you should check the configuration before updating it to your main configuration file. So first when you run the command, it will generate the output directly on your terminal like this. And if you have made any changes which is not configured properly, then you can see the error here and you can see misconfigurations here. So it is just to checking the configuration. So what I am doing here, I am just verifying the changes what we have made. So if I have made any wrong changes, I will see the error. Now if I see no errors, then I can do update the changes to directly main configuration file, and that is what I am doing. I will do with the easy way is to just redirect the output to main configuration file, and now I am not overwriting it, I am just redirecting it. That means I am not adding the changes, I am just overwriting it. I am giving single redirection sign. So what it will do, it will redirect the whole configuration. It will generate by this command. It will send it to the configuration file and it will overwrite the previous changes. So remember, it is risky. So first you have to verify that the changes what you have made is proper or correct. Otherwise you can corrupt or you can misconfigure the main configuration file, and then this is the single file you have. So it is not you will not able to recover it. So either you should do what? First take a backup of the file and then do changes, or first just verify the changes and then you should do the changes. So I have verified it, so I can update it. Now the changes is updated, and now when I see the main configuration file, I can see this 15 second here. So now I can see the timeout is changed to 15 seconds. And one more thing I have removed the one line from kernel, and that is what I have removed that RHGB quite. So we have made changes and we have done what? We have updated the changes into main configuration file. Now let's see how is it effective. So I will reboot the system to check. Now you see here it is waiting for 15 seconds. Previously it was waiting for only 5 seconds. Now I will start this and you will see it will show you everything which is loading, because RHGB quiet I have removed. Now this option, this screen was not showing before, where it is showing everything which is running, starting and all, because I removed RHGB quiet. Because of RHGB quiet, it was booting quietly and it was not showing anything. And now it is started. So first verify. After making the changes, we will verify by using grub2 mkconfig command. It will generate the output into the terminal, and if you see any error, then make sure that error is not there, and if it is error, then try to correct it, and if it is no error, then we can update the changes into main configuration file. So this is how we can make changes into grub configurations. Now there is another way to pass some commands through the kernel. We can change the kernel command. We can add the command permanently into this default file and update it into the main configuration file. That means in the configuration file we can add the permanent commands for the kernel. Like whatever command we want to add with the kernel, we can add it permanently by using the configuration command, grub configuration file. Another way is to add changes. We can pass command to kernel with this process, or we can say kernel by editing the configuration file and it will be permanently. So we can pass command to kernel by editing configuration file, or we can say pass the command to kernel permanently by editing configuration file, or we can also pass commands to kernel at the boot time, at the booting time, but it will not be permanent, because when we reboot again, it will lost. The changes will be lost. It is not permanent. So how we can do this? So for passing temporary commands to kernel at booting time. So what we do then for doing this? Stop the process, or let's say we'll go with a step by step. So first what you will do, reboot the system, then stop timeout of menu. So when we see the boot menu, when we see the timer, so we stop the timer of boot menu by pressing up or down arrow key from our keyboard. Now when it is stopped, then what? We will select the kernel, select the kernel to edit and press E from the keyboard. So we will select the kernel to edit and press E from the keyboard. It will do what? It will give you option to edit the kernel, and then go to Linux 16 line. So find the Linux 16 line, go to the Linux 16 line. Or go to end of the Linux 16 line. So go to end of the Linux 16 line and add commands which you want. Now from here we can add lots of commands, we can add lots of things, we can do lots of things. Now we can do lots of things, that means we can add lots of options there, we can add lots of commands there. So there are lots of options to do. So if you like, then you can select lots of options, like you want to add you want to enable firewall, disable firewall, you want to add IP addresses, you want to add something else, you want to change the like you want to boot it to graphical, you want to boot it to command line, you want to go to rescue target, whatever you can change. Lots of options we have to select from. So you can find it if you can just Google what commands I can pass through the kernel. So you can find lots of commands, lots of options. Here I am showing you that how you can do that. Now after that you will press Ctrl X. Press Ctrl X. Keys from your keyboard to boot the system with the changes. That means boot the system with the changes what we have made. So if we want to boot the system with the changes, then we can do press Ctrl X. Otherwise, or press the escape key to discard the changes. So if you don't want to save the changes, you want to discard the changes, then you can press escape to discard the changes and exit from kernel editing, and then you can boot normally. So this is how you can pass the options, commands to the kernel at the booting time, and there is lots of options out there. Let me show you some option like what we can pass. So I want to pass some, so I will do what? I will reboot the system, and when we see the menu, we will stop the timer. So this is the menu, boot menu, and timer is of 15 seconds. So I will stop by pressing up or down arrow key. Now the timer is stopped. it also says here that use the up and down key to change the selection, and it will, when you say try to save the change the selection, then it will stop the timer. Then it says press E to edit the selected item. So you have to select the kernel. So I selected the first one and I want to edit it. So I will press E, and this is the menu entry and all the other settings of kernel. Now when you go down here, so you will see this Linux 16 line here. So this is the Linux 16 line, and I will go to the end of the line because there is some default options are there, and I want to add my option. So I want to add it at the end of the line. For example, I remove the option called RHGB quiet, so that it is booting, it is not booting quietly, and it is showing all the features which is loading, not loading, it is showing everything. So before it was not showing that things. Let's say I will add one more time. I will add it here, RHGB, and again I will add quiet now. Now this time I added this RHGB quiet, Red Hat graphical boot quiet. It is not there. Now I will start this with the changes. You can see Control X to start. So Control X to start with the changes. So I have added this RHGB quiet. Now it will boot quietly. So I will press Control X. Now you will see it will boot very quietly. And you see this, now it is graphically loading, it is showing loading. It is not showing what is happening in the background. So previously when I removed that, it was showing me that what is it loading and what is it not loading. But now it is not showing. Directly it is now showing the graphical screen, and then it will give me the menu for logging. Now I will reboot again. And again I will stop, edit. Now see, it is not permanent, so that you can see it has gone now. The option which I added there, RHGB quiet, it is not there because it is not in the default setting, it is not in the main configuration file. We can add other options like whatever unit you want to execute. For example, if you want to, by default our system is booting into graphical. I want to boot it into command line. So I can add this by using here the command system d dot unit is equal to, and I can select whatever unit I want to boot for. Like graphical dot target is for graphical, multi-user dot target is for command line, or if you want to go for the rescue dot target, you want to go for emergency, then you can go for emergency dot target. Let's say I want to go to command line, so I will say multi user dot target. So our system will not boot into graphical, it will boot into command line multi-user, and I will say Control X. And because now RHGB quiet is not there, so it will show. Now you see it is showing all the options it is loading. And you can see it is logged into command line. And if I check the run level, it says run level 3. Run level 3 is basically what? Multi-user dot target. It is a multi-user. I can give reboot again. I can go for rescue also. This is also an option for troubleshooting, like if suppose your system is not starting properly in graphical and not even a command line also multi-user, then you can do what? You can start your system into rescue mode. There is a target unit called rescue.target. Rescue.target. It is basically is like a safe mode for our Linux. Like we have in Windows, we have safe mode. Here we also have it. So I will start it here. Now it will go for rescue. So if in case suppose your system is not starting properly in graphical or even a command line, then you can go for safe mode for rescue. And you can see here it is saying that it is using the emergency mode and is loaded the rescue.target. It is just like a previous versions we have single user mode, single run level 1, but here it is asking the password. Previously in single user single mode it was not asking the password for root. You have to provide the password to log in, and then here you can do some troubleshooting. So just like this we can pass multiple other options, multiple other commands with the kernel. Now I will exit and reboot again, and now this time I will not do anything. I will go by default, and we can see that it is loading, and it will load by default in normally. Default is what? Graphical, so it is going to be boot into graphical one. So these are the two options we have to manage Grub. We can change directly into configuration files, or we can do changes into booting time also. We can add some changes into our kernel. After Grub configurations, the next important thing for the booting is what? Systemd. Systemd is to initialize your system. So for managing systemd, or we can say managing systemd. Now systemd is to initialize the system. The responsibility for the systemd is to initialize the system. Now for doing initialization, for initializing the system, systemd has units, multiple units. So multiple units are for example target unit and service unit. So these are the units where it has all the configurations. Now these units are very simple. These are very simple scripts. These units are simple scripts. So what these units are very simple scripts. So when we boot our system, so system D do what? It executes these scripts to initialize the system. So it executes these scripts to initialize the system according to the first script, first thing, which is what? Whether it is want to start it into graphical or command line. Executes at the time of booting for initializing the system. So it is initializing the system by executing these scripts. Now first system D executes default dot target to decide whether our system will boot in GUI or CLI. So it boots first default.target and it will decide whether our system will boot in GUI or CLI. Now all the units which is going to be executed are under which directory? Under etc system D system directory. So all the units which is going to be executed are located under this directory. So all the files, all the units are which is going to be executed are located under this directory, and they are as a soft link. They are located as a soft links. So where is the original files? And all the units kept into under lib. I will show you the path. So all the units kept into this directory, so that every script will not execute when our system is booted. So only the scripts which will execute which we decide to execute. So which we decide that this should be executed. So all those scripts, all those units will be under this etc directory, and from here it will be executed, but they are as a link located there. Originally they are located under this directory. So when we want to execute any script, so we will kept it into, we create the link into this directory. So from here it will execute, but all other units will be kept into this directory. So every unit is not in the same place, because when your system boot, it will execute every script, every unit. So we want control in our hand. So it is under the etc directory, so that we know that what unit should be run and what should not be run. So this is how system D do the job, and it loads these scripts. So let's check those scripts first. So when we check etc system D system directory, which is the directory where all the scripts will load, we can see these are the target and units. These are the target, and where you can see the default.target, and these are the other targets and services, and all the default.target wants. That means in this directory, whatever needed to execute this default.target is located under this, and same as for the other directories also, for the other targets and services. So all the files here we can see, these are the link file. If you can see, this is sky blue, so it's a link file. So all the links are here, so that when our system boots, we decide, and we will not execute all the units, only the units will execute which is under this directory, but originally they are located under this directory lib. So when you list this directory, you will see all the available units we have, which is installed and which is loaded. So these are all units we have here. All the units, all the services, everything is here in this directory. But our system, when our system boots, it will not load anything from here, because if it load anything from here, that means it will load everything. So we want control in our hand. So everything loads only from here, not from here. For example, this default.target, this is basically decides what GUI or CLI. GUI means graphical.target and CLI means multi-user.target. So if you check, this default.target is link of which target. So let's check that under etc system D system and default.target. If I check this, then I can see that this default.target is basically the soft link of this graphical.target. That means when our system boots, it actually boot with this graphical, and you can see it is very simple scripts. Like if I check this default.target, we can see it's a unit, and description it is saying that it is default graphical, because it is basically graphical, it is only the link. Default, the documentation you can find it here, and it is also require what multi-user.target. This is very simple script. It requires multi-target, multi-user. That means it is command line. So first command line comes, then graphical comes, and it wants these service, and it will conflict with rescue. So if you go for single user mode, rescue mode, emergency mode, then this graphical will not start, and it will only start after executing all these targets and services. This is what the dependencies for the target, and this is isolatable. That means we can isolate it from this multi-user to graphical. So if I want to change this, like if I want to change, my system is right now running on default graphical, and if I want to change it to command line like multi-user, then I can do that by using systemctl command. For managing the systemd, we have a command systemctl. So let's say I want to see first. I want to see what are the dependencies, because all the targets are dependent on others. So we can see by using this systemctl list dependencies command, and we can see like which target we want to see the dependencies. So let's say I want to see graphical.target, and it is depending on which other targets. So we can see here it depends on these other targets and services. And Q4 out, it is showing target and services all, and you can see it is showing in a tree view. So we can say that this is depending on this, or if you just want to see only targets, then you can grab and you can see that this graphical.target is basically depending on multi-user first. So you have to install multi-user first, execute, then basic is depending for multi-user. Multi-user need this basic, and also need Getty, also need NFS, also need remote FS. Then basic needs these other targets to be executed, and you can see the all dependencies. So just like we saw the unit file, it shows that it needs this, and we can see by this dependency command also. I did not use default because basically default is this graphical.target. Either I list default, I list graphical, both are same, because right now our default target is the graphical one. You can see both are same. So default need multi-user and all these. So by default right now is graphical, set to graphical. So if you want to change it, then you can change it by systemctl command. So suppose you want to see first what is right now, what is default, then you can set get default. It shows that right now by default is graphical.target. Now if you want to change it, if you want to set it to command line, so you can run systemctl set default, and I want to set it to multi-user. Now you see the interesting thing what it do. Now it is changed. If you check now what is default now, so it is saying that the default is now multi-user. And if you check the link also, if you check the link, then again you can see it is now default is linked to this. It is the link of multi-user.target. So what it do actually when we set it by this command, so basically it is doing this. You see here, removing the sim link. So first it is removing the default one which is linked to the graphical one, then it create the new link from this, and it will create from multi-user. So it is basically doing what, when I am setting this by using the command systemctl, it is actually changing the link. It is removing the previous link and it is creating new link. And we know how to create the link also. So either we can do this command or we can do it manually also. So right now it is now multi-user. So when our system boots, it will go to command line. If I want to change back to graphical, then I can do again systemctl set default to graphical.target. Now see what it will do now. It will remove this previous link and create the new link. So now it has removed the previous link and now it is created the new link. So this is what to change the default one and to check the dependencies of that any unit. You can check the dependencies. You can see that you can also check by systemctl command that what are the units we have. We can list all the units. We can list all the units which we have. So when we give this command, it will show all the units what we have. And it's showing this, and here it shows the unit, the name of the units. Here it shows that whether it is loaded or not, whether it is active, whether it is waiting, whether it is this is the sub condition, like it is active and then it is waiting or running, and this is the description of that unit. So there are lots of units are there, and you can check some of them. Some of the units name is mount, which is using the file system. So it is loaded, it is active, and right now it is mounted. This is fuse file control file system, and you can see this one is like loaded, active, but right now it is not running, it is exited. You can see all the units status also. So most of the units are running, some of them is active, some of them have done the job, so removed. These are network targets, network sockets, and these are listening. These are listening. Networks are listening. Now at the end it says that load means what? It reflects the whether the unit definition was properly loaded. That means the definition, the configuration is properly loaded or not. If you see loaded is not showing here properly, that means you are having a problem of configuration. Then it is saying active means the high level unit activation state, that is generalizing of sub. So first it is active or not. Then it says sub. Sub means the low level unit activation state, values depend on unit type. So some units waiting, some unit waits, some unit runs, some unit listens. So depending on that, this sub unit, this one defined sub, low level. Now it says 145 loaded units listed. We can pass hyphen all to see loaded but inactive units also. And to show all installed unit files, we can use systemctl list unit files. So right now it is basically showing all the active ones. It is not showing others which is not active. It is showing by default all the active ones. So if we want to see the units which is not active also, we will give this all command. So I will press Q here and I will add hyphen all. Now here you will see some of the units which is not active. You can see this one is inactive. These are inactive. And some of them has not found. Not found, that means these are not available. Now suppose I want to see only targets. So I can do what? I can grab, I can do minus, I can say types is equal to target. Now it is showing only about targets. 30 target units are there, and you can see all the targets here. Now we know all the files to this units are located under this directory, lib systemd system directory. If we want to see this all files also by using this command, then we can use this list files command. list unit files, and it will show you all the files and their status. The status of that, like static, disable, enable, these are the default status. That means whenever system boots, so whether they will start or not start. So enable means they will start, and disable means they will not start. That means enable means this Bluetooth service will always start. It is default enable. And some of them is static. Static means we can start them. So it is showing all the service files, unit files. (426) unit files we have. Or if suppose I want to only see the targets unit files, or I want to see all, or I just want to see target, so I will say type is equal to target. So it shows only target units, whether they are starting or not starting, or enable or disable. Then this is the same command we have, which we can use to manage the services by using systemctl status for any service. We can check. So when we are checking the service means we are checking the unit status for that unit, and it is saying that it is active, running. This is the high level status, which is active, and this is sub level, which is running. And when you check the file, so whether it is enable or disable, and we can manage this. We can start, stop, reload. We can do this by using this systemctl command. So if you want to reload it, if it is already running, then you can say restart. It will stop and start again, and again you can do reload also. Now what is the difference between restart and reload? Restart will do what? It will completely shut down the service. It is like shutting down the server and then starting again. And reload means what? It will not stop the service, it will not shut down the service, it will just reload the configurations. It only reload the configurations. So sometime when you do changes in the configuration, you can just reload the service and it will work. But sometime you need to restart. Sometime reload didn't work, then you can go for restart. You can stop the service, you can stop the service, and when you check the status, you can see now it is not, it is inactive and dead, but still it is default enable. That means whenever our system reboots, it will start again. So that is the default status. So if you want to change that or to see that, you can check is enable command for that service. So it says that it is enabled, and you can do what? You can disable it. Systemctl disable SSD service. Now you see what happens when I disable it. This is also interesting. Now what it do here? It actually removes the link. It is removing the link from that etc systemd system directory and from that multi-user target wants directory. That means it is the requirement for the multi-user target, and it is under that directory for the multi-user wants, and this is the file. So it is created, the link was there, and when I disable it, it actually removes the link. Now if I enable this, then what happened? It will create the link. That is how it set it to default. That means whenever system boots, it will load all the links available under this directory. So if the link is not there, then it will not load and it will not start. And if the link is there, then it will load and start. So when I enable the service, you see it is creating the link under that directory. So that is how the systemd works, and we can manipulate the systemd by using systemctl command. So for doing the troubleshooting for booting, first we should know how we can edit or manage grub and systemd, because grub is to manage the booting and systemd is to initialize the system. So we have seen now how we can manage the configuration for grub, and also we can we saw that how systemd works and how we can manage the targets and units for the systemd. Now we know this, then we can do what? We can do the troubleshooting related to boot issues if we find some issues. So that we will do in a next time.